Now, none of the things I've cited here make a slam dunk case for the bottom of the cycle being imminent, but it does suggest to me that bit by bit over time we are going to get more young people, first home buyers in particular, who are already in the market, more of them stepping forward saying, I am no longer prepared to wait for the last few percentage points decline in the average house prices out there. Well, hello again everybody, and welcome to another quick video from myself, sponsored by NZHL, looking at what's happening in the housing market, the overall New Zealand economy and interest rates, etc. And of course, one of the most important developments with regard to all of those things over the past week has been the better than expected CPI, Consumers Price Index, inflation number that came out about a week ago. Now, the annual rate of inflation in New Zealand has dropped from 7.2% down to 6.7%. That 6.7% level is better than had been expected, and in particular it's better than the Reserve Bank's forecast, which had been for 7.3%. Now, this doesn't all of a sudden mean that anyone actually feels inflation is under control. We're all seeing the high increase in the cost of living out there still. The Reserve Bank will still be not wanting people to think everything's fine and you can go out spending up large again. Inflation at 6.7% is still way too high, but it does add up to a slowly building picture that inflation is moving in the right direction, and so that makes me more confident that we have seen the peaks in interest rates. I guess I should have couched that by saying the peaks for 2 years and beyond, because there's a round of increases that have happened recently for the 1 year fixed mortgage rate in response to that 0.5% unexpectedly large increase in the official cash rate earlier this month. Inflation is still too high, but we can start to be thinking about the speed with which interest rates will start coming down, certainly through 2024. Later this year, we'll simply have to see what happens with the economic data, which of course is, as I mentioned, explicitly what the Reserve Bank are going to be doing from here on out. They don't really have a preset path. They're going to see, is the economy weakening as much as they have factored into their forecast are there? Are the inflation measures starting to move down? And like I say, we're getting some indication that maybe some of them are. Secondly, relevant to the housing market there, I do a monthly survey of residential property investors with Crocker's Property Management, and this month and last month there was a record 82% of the investors saying they plan to increase their rents over the next 12 months. So that's the highest, like I say, on record for that measure, the survey running about 2 years or so. And also the average increase in rent, which people are looking for, has risen to a 10-month high of 6%. The low was back in December at about 5.3%. So I don't look at those numbers and reach a conclusion that massively all of a sudden the rents are going to be shooting up. It's more a view on my part, and maybe a few others as well, that the slowdown we've seen in growth in rents on some of the measures out there, maybe it's starting to come towards a bit of an end there. So that sort of rents pressure is important because it starts to make people think a bit more about maybe it's going to be cheaper if I look at buying a house out there. So we've got that, and maybe why is some of that rental market tightening happening up? There's quite a flow of properties going now out of that long-term rental pool back into the short-term tourism-focused accommodation, and in the main cities also towards the export education sector, the extra students that are coming into the country. And just finally, also we got the monthly numbers from REINZ on dwelling sales, price changes, etc. Seasonally adjusted average prices throughout the country fell 0.2% in March. That was the lowest smallest decrease since November of 2021, and it compared with a 1.1% fall in February and an average monthly decline from December 2021 through to February this year of 1.1%. So maybe it's starting to signal that we're getting fairly close to the bottoming out of the cycle in the house prices, especially because our sales in the month of March were not at record lows as we saw both for January and February. They weren't strong, but they weren't appallingly low as we saw for the first 2 months of the year. Now, none of the things I've cited here make a slam dunk case for the bottom of the cycle being imminent, but it does suggest to me that bit by bit over time we are going to to get more young people, first-time buyers in particular, who are already in the market, more of them stepping forward saying, I am no longer prepared to wait for the last few percentage points decline in the average house prices out there. I think personally there still is a little bit of a decline left out there, but like I say, that large queue that's built up over the past year and a half or so, or even longer when prices were rising strongly in 2021, more of those people I think are going to start stepping forward. Of course, the election coming along later this year, that's going to be used as a reason by many just to sit on their hands and see what happens. And the unemployment rate is going to go up, so that's going to cap things just for a little bit. And just for your guide, I yet don't have any view I'm really willing to express with regard to how quickly prices go up once the cycle bottoms out and once we do start seeing prices rising. Too much uncertainty, too much water to go under the bridge there before I think we can start having next round of guesses for what's happening in the house price cycle. All the best out there.